CEO Na is delivering a passionate speech to his employees ahead of starting a new business.
Everyone, I promise you, this business will succeed if we pull our...
There he goes again. So how come we always end up failing?
If each department stays on course.
I swear that strategy is going to change before long.
I want you all to work passionately with an ownership spirit.
Despite Na's passionate speech, employees are just cynical about it. What could be the problem? Hello, I'm Luke at IGM. The CEO sincerely appeals to his employees to work together for the new challenge the company will face, but he's only met with cynicism. Why do you think his employees display such an attitude? It's because of their organizational cynicism. It refers to the state where employees harbor indifference or worse, hostility and distrust towards their leaders or organizations. Organizational cynicism of employees particularly poses a threat when the organization is attempting to change or innovate. Instead of actively participating in the new movement within the organization, they just stand by as observers and complain about one thing after another. Worse, they may even display anti-organizational behavior, such as refusing to cooperate in the initiative. What's worrisome is that organizational cynicism tends to be strongly infectious, causing other employees to turn into cynics. So how do you solve this problem? You need to identify the cause. There are largely two reasons why employees become cynics. It's when the psychological contract has been violated, and when there is insufficient support for conducting work. Let's find out how such situations look and what can be done to prevent them. First, when the company violates its psychological contract with employees, the employees are greatly disappointed and consequently turn into cynics. A psychological contract is a type of trust and commitment made between the employer and the employee. In what kind of a situation do you think a psychological contract gets broken? First, when there are repeated failures. Of course, any company can experience a failure at one time or another. What's important is how the company responds after a failure. If the company fails repeatedly because of similar reasons, employees become cynical towards their leaders and company, thinking, "I bet we'll fail again." So even after a failure, the company needs to show its employees what lessons were learned and how they have contributed to their growth. For this purpose, you can use AAR, After Action Review, which is a process of analyzing the causes of a success or a failure of a project upon its completion, in order to identify what would need to be strengthened or supplemented in the future. This process originated in the U.S. Army's practice of reviewing the results after training. This method is being widely used in global companies like Pixar today. Also, employees feel disappointed when the direction of a strategy or policy of the organization that they trusted would be maintained changes randomly. Employees become cynical, thinking, "I bet they'll change their words again. I'll just do the least to play along." Former HP CEO Callie Fiorina required her employees to agree to reduce salaries and vacation days in an attempt to increase efficiency of the company's management. The employees complied, trusting that their sacrifice would prevent the worst-case scenario of layoffs. But a month later, Fiorina laid off 6,000 employees. Employees felt greatly disappointed and became cynical towards the company. Their morale hit the ground. Of course, as the CEO, she must have had good reason why she was compelled to make such a decision. But such decisions need to be followed by sufficient explanations as to their legitimacy and as to why they are inevitable. In other words, the company needs to convince its employees that it has done its best not to violate its psychological contract with employees. What's another factor that may cause organizational cynicism, in addition to violating the psychological contract with employees? It's when employees feel helpless due to insufficient support for their work. It's when employees find themselves against the wall for not being able to perform their duties as they see fit. Now, what kind of situations would there be? First, it's when information about the state of business management is not fully shared. In most companies, main information about business management is shared mostly among the executives, while employees are only informed of directives based on decisions already made. Such practice makes employees feel incapable and think, "We're just powerless workers making daily wages." Employees gradually become passive and indifferent cynics. In this context, Zappos CEO Tony Hsieh disclosed information regarding Amazon's acquisition of the company to his employees first, via Twitter. It was a gesture to ensure that his employees would not hear the news from an outside source first and feel disenfranchised. Thanks to such consideration of the CEO, employees felt they were being respected as valuable members of the company and became more loyal. Employees also feel helpless when they are not given enough decision-making authority to conduct their duties. Employees on the ground always face countless situations that need to be handled. How would they feel if they were compelled to just follow the rules or directives instead of being given the leeway to act based on their own judgment? Employees may turn into cynics who smirk at their company for being inefficient, thinking, "Great, keep it up. No wonder it's stuck with no progress." So, Ritz-Carlton Hotel allowed its employees to spend as much as $2,000 without being subject to their supervisor's approval, if needed to address customers' complaints. Instead of having its customers wait until the employee obtains approval to take actions, the company allowed employees to exercise their judgment. Motivated by the confidence placed in them, employees came to work with more passion and discretion. The famous auto king, Henry Ford, said, "You can take my factories, burn up my buildings, but give me my people, and I'll build the business right back again." Do you want to work with passionate and trustworthy employees like Henry Ford did? Then look back whether you haven't disappointed your employees by breaking your psychological contract with them. See if your employees feel helpless because you are not providing enough support necessary to handle their duties. Remember, a passionate and loyal workforce is your best asset.